All right, guys, welcome back to another video. Hope everyone had a great weekend. We have lots to talk about today. Let's just jump right into it here. Firstly, talking about some tests that were done with cloud gaming. As we know, we have the PS5 streaming, we have Xbox's cloud gaming or xCloud, and they are now going to be in the future going head to head for which provides the better cloud gaming. Now, it's not all just about performance and stuff, because obviously it's the games that are on there in the service that make the actual service better than the other or more attractive to a consumer. But Digital Foundry did an analysis here, and there's some interesting results when it comes to PlayStation 5 or PlayStation streaming versus xCloud. And the quick summary of this all is that the PS Plus streaming service delivers better image quality, whereas the performance while on xCloud turns in a better latency figures. And the major reason for this is because on PlayStation Plus, they are actually using the PS5 versions of games, the PS5 performance. And on the Xbox side of things, although they were playing Xbox Cloud Gaming through an Xbox Series X, it's actually using the Xbox Series S performance targets for the version of the game that you are playing through Xbox Cloud Gaming. Here's what they say. There's an extra twist to this. Not only is the video stream lower quality on Xbox's cloud gaming service, but users are being served the Xbox Series S versions of each game I tested, despite confirmation from Microsoft that xCloud data centers are built on the Xbox Series X silicon. Based on our testing, it stands to reason that today's implementation of the Xbox Cloud uses a virtualized Series S running on Series X silicon. Now, you may be asking why, and they say here, likely to save on server load for Microsoft, but unfortunately, it does mean that games don't perform quite as well as on the PS5 via cloud streaming. So right now, if you are testing both PlayStation Plus streaming versus the Xbox Cloud Gaming, you are getting the lower version of the game via Xbox because they are using the Xbox Series S performance mode. Now, when it comes to latency, though, I think that is one of the biggest things with cloud gaming. I know for me, I dislike cloud gaming when the latency is just bad, when you're hitting your button on your controller and then the motion on the screen really is not one-to-one or as close to one-to-one as it can be. And when they talk about latency, they say here, moving over to Back for Blood for latency test, though, Xbox comes out the clear winner here with around 40 milliseconds less of a delay than the PlayStation 5, which to me is actually a very big advantage for Xbox Cloud Gaming, because to me, like I said, cloud gaming latency, that is the biggest issue that these companies need to tackle going forward, because especially if they ever want to push online gaming or first-person shooters and things like that, where you're playing against other players, you want to have as little latency as possible. So I don't really see a real future for cloud gaming until the latency is almost none. I mean, obviously there will always be some of it, but until they can really make it as little as possible, people aren't going to take cloud gaming seriously for anything other than smaller single player experiences where it doesn't really matter if you're a little bit late on the button press, slower paced games and things like that. I know for me, it's still an issue at times with cloud gaming. Could also be an internet thing, but it's good to see the Xbox is coming out here on top with the latency style, because that's the cloud streaming service that I do use. But again, we will see how this all plays out in the future, because right now, if you're wanting the better quality version, if you don't really care too much about that latency, PlayStation Plus is the way to go. They have the higher version of the game, the PS5 performance version versus the Xbox Series S performance version. And as Xbox does run off of the Xbox Series X silicon, I wonder if they are just right now still in the early stages and then will eventually be upgrading it once they have more server space or more resources to be outputting that to the amount of subscribers to Xbox Game Pass. Will they eventually be shifting over the version that we play to the Xbox Series X version, while including that less latency going forward? So the battle of the clouds are just beginning, because you also have things like NVIDIA GeForce Now, which a lot of people think is better than all of them, especially when you're comparing it to Xbox Cloud Gaming. So there will be more players getting into this side of gaming as cloud is going to continue to expand, as technology expands, as people's internet get better and access overall does get better. Okay, let's jump over here and let's talk about some Assassin's Creed, because there are some exclusive details here from Insider Gaming about the game, about the actual relatively big upgrade this game is going to have, or change it's going to have from the previous open world Assassin's Creed games. I'm really excited for this game. It is set in feudal Japan, and I think that's an awesome setting for those open world Assassin's Creed games. And this one is going to be called Assassin's Creed Red. Now, we've talked about previously the Infinity Hub, which is going to be like the Assassin's Creed launcher where all of your Assassin's Creed content is in there, and you're going to be able to jump between games. The Insider Game was actually shown a video of this that obviously they couldn't show off to the public, as they agreed not to. But it sounds essentially like Ubisoft trying to lock you into the Assassin's Creed world and kind of get you out of whatever ecosystem that you're playing on and just be completely focused on Assassin's Creed. I mean, we've kind of known this as Ubisoft's mantra from a long time now. When they create these big open world games, they have these live service games. Basically, the goals of companies that make these styles of games is to keep you engaged as long as possible in their titles versus other titles. And they're kind of expanding out on that with this Infinity Hub. But if you're an Assassin's Creed fan, it may be a good thing for you. And we have more information actually about how they developed it, the engine they use, and just things that are changing over from Valhalla, which I actually really did enjoy. So it says here, to start, the Assassin's Creed franchise as a whole isn't moving to a new engine necessarily, but it will be using a substantial evolution of it named the Anvil Pipeline. Sources explain that the Anvil Pipeline allows all of the various Assassin's Creed studios, of which there are many, to work from one unified branch rather than having different versions and branches. This means that moving forward, Assassin's Creed will benefit visually from the lines of ray traced global illumination and virtual geometry. So expanding on how Assassin's Creed looks, making it actually look better than it already looks. Pretty exciting, because I think the Assassin's Creed games are some of the better looking games out there. If you remember Valhalla, how good that game did look as a launch title for this generation of consoles was pretty remarkable. And the fact that they were able to actually get a nice performance mode, I think not right away, maybe a couple of weeks or maybe a month later or something like that, on the Series S for such a massive game that still looked great was, again, I think a really awesome thing that they were able to do. Now, they continue here and say the move to the Anvil Pipeline has meant that the teams have had to completely overhaul everything in the series too, including animations, its parkour system, dynamic weather, and more. So that has me very intrigued. They are overhauling their systems. Their systems right now are decent. There's definitely some things that can be improved on. People have always commented, I think, on the parkour and always finding better ways to make the parkour better. They are overhauling this, and we're going to see how that translates into this brand new game. So this is, to me, one of the most exciting Assassin's Creed releases coming up if all of this stuff ends up true, because it's going to be a brand new experience in the way that the game plays if they are overhauling stuff. I mean, I'm sure it'll be similar in ways, but it will definitely feel a difference in the gameplay itself when everything is starting from scratch. It says here, combat in Assassin's Creed Red was described to me as being somewhat similar to Valhalla, but featuring a lot more gore, including blood and decapitations. I mean, not gonna lie, that sounds pretty awesome, especially in the setting that the game is in. Stealth also plays a major role in Red, somewhat akin to Splinter Cell. The player can extinguish torches, hide in tall grass and bushes, and even go prone whenever they please. Great to hear, because one of the biggest complaints about the open world Assassin's Creed games was they essentially got rid of having to be stealthy whatsoever. And that's why people wanted those smaller games back, which they did bring back with Mirage. But now they're going to be taking all of that and putting it into one game. And hopefully this is true. Being akin to Splinter Cell is great. I wish that Ubisoft would just make a new Splinter Cell game rather than having all these cameos from Sam Fisher or making games similar to how Splinter Cell plays. But hey, at least we're getting a little bit of a taste of it based off of what this is saying. They say footage provided to Insider Gaming under the condition that the footage does not go public also showed a major evolution to the Valhalla settlement feature. Great to hear. It says in Red, players will be able to build their settlement in a big way named the Hideout. The Hideout is where the player will be able to build at their own will, the likes of an armory, dojo, altar, and more. These buildings are customizable too, from being able to pick the building location to being able to choose your roof to the interior layout where you can display the likes of your weapons, armor can be displayed. Overall, Assassin's Creed franchise is taking a gigantic leap, and our first glimpse with the Assassin's Creed Red, which is set to be revealed in the coming months. So that sounds extremely exciting. This is probably one of my most anticipated games to be released. I love these open world Assassin's Creed games, and they are improving on it, which is awesome. They're not just going back to the well and just kind of putting a new skin of layer on Assassin's Creed Valhalla and giving us this game. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of new stuff to experience here. Now, when it comes to EA, we heard about all the layoffs. We heard about them moving away from licensed content, which was kind of vague. That mean they were cutting all licensed games, because we know that they're working on games like Black Panther and Iron Man. And they said they wanted to focus on IPs that they owned, which I think is cool. If they're going to bring back Titanfall 3, they don't do that. We'll see what other IPs that they do end up releasing, but there were still questions about what this meant in terms of the licensed games that people had known were in the works, and it looks like they are still working on some licensed IP. As Respawn Star Wars FPS, which is The Mandalorian, was canceled, but the next Jedi game, Black Panther and Iron Man, will continue. So now we know that that is something that if you were wondering if those games will still be released, they will still be in development. I mean, they could get cut at a different time, but they do say here, next Jedi game, Black Panther and Iron Man will continue in development from EA. And they're also working on Dragon Age Dreadwolf. Now, I'm interested in how this game is going to turn out, but I'm also skeptical in just how well it will be received. We did see some leaked gameplay a long time ago, and it looked like they were going more for a lot more action, like God of War style, it almost looked like in terms of the combat. And we don't know when Dreadwolf is going to be releasing, but they are confident that it will release this year. So it says here, this is according to Jeff Grubb, speaking on Game Mess Decides podcast, saying, I suspect that Dragon Age Dreadwolf will probably pop in the summer. I don't know when it will be shown, but I assume it will be shown sometime this summer. And it says on the potential release window, he says it will be released this year. Last I heard, EA are pretty confident about that. That doesn't mean it's a guarantee. It could slip, but right now internally they expect to release later this year. And we're expecting a full reveal of Dragon Age Dreadwolf scheduled this summer at one of the shows, Summer Game Show, or maybe another major show that does happen. We know IGN's also doing their own showcase or their own E3 thing. They're kind of trying to take it over with more in-person stuff, so maybe it'll be shown off there. Who knows? But Dragon Age Dreadwolf, expect to see it this year, and hopefully we do get a release of it this year. I'm hoping BioWare bounces back. I'm hoping they can really win people over with this release and that it really destroys anyone's negative expectations. But again, we will have to wait and see. As right now, a lot of people I think are going into Dragon Age Dreadwolf very skeptical as to how this game is going to end up. Now, when it comes to a PC, PlayStation, we've heard everything from Hiroki to Toki. We've heard, and we've known this for a while, that they are going to be shifting far more to day and date games on other platforms, specifically PC. They're going to be trying to release a lot of games on mobile as well. And in the future, who knows what other stuff they will release stuff on. But right now, it's going to be PC mobile because their profit margins, their operating margins just are very slim. They're not making nearly enough money. People aren't buying enough of their games, and they have to be able to expand their reach, especially with the increasing development costs. And one of those games that looks like it is coming to PC really soon is Ghost of Tsushima, where apparently it could be actually surfacing this week. This comes via special Nick saying on X saying, I'm hearing that we might be getting something about Ghost of Tsushima PC pretty soon, maybe around the 5th. So that could literally be tomorrow where we hear something about Ghost of Tsushima coming to PC. This would be a great game to come to PC. It did release on PlayStation 4 in 2020, then got a director's cut onto the PlayStation 5, but I'm sure it will. It's already a really good looking game. It plays well, but with really high PC settings, that game could probably look even way better than it does. So I hope this does come out to PC. I'm thinking I would probably end up picking it up on PC and trying it out. But yeah, Ghost of Tsushima, awesome game. And we will see more PlayStation PC releases. And I'm thinking we're going to see more day one PlayStation PC releases in the coming future, again, which I think is a good thing. Good thing for the gamers. It increases that access, increases that reach. And hopefully they do eventually end up going the ways of Xbox, which is being able to have that play anywhere, that dual entitlement, the cross saves. Because that is such a feature that I think still people don't talk enough about how good that is on Xbox, where you can play your game on any device and just jump in the same save file, whether you're on PC, whether you're in the cloud, whether you're on your Xbox. Now, when it comes to Starfield Shattered Space expansion, which was involved in a lot of the rumors where this was apparently where Starfield was going to be releasing on PlayStation 5 with the Shattered Space expansion. And we know Phil Spencer did come out and say that Starfield and Indiana Jones are not one of the games coming to PS5, at least right now, with the 4 that were announced 2 weeks ago, I believe. We know what they are already. But Shattered Space for Starfield could be revealed soon. It says here, since Starfield was released in September of 2023, its player count has been steadily winding down on platforms like Steam. Starfield is now on par or has fallen below the likes of Fallout 4 and Skyrim. For the most part, fans of Bethesda's spacefaring RPG are waiting patiently for news of the game's first major expansion, Shattered Space. Those who purchased the higher editions of Starfield already have access to Shattered Space, which was named before Starfield was even released. However, we're now almost 7 months after the launch of Starfield, and nobody is in any wiser about Shattered Space, and this may be about to change. It's a small suggestion, but a suggestion nonetheless. Recently was discovered through the Steam database that Starfield's listing on the platform has been updated to show an unknown app in the game's DLC section. This is a new addition to the game's metadata, but it's not known what that change indicates. And to put this into perspective, the same section for Fallout 4 reveals a list of games of downloadable content, including Nuka World and the Vault Tech Workshop. So Shattered Space, from what we understand, is coming out this year. And I would not be surprised if an announcement comes relatively soon with either a summer release or a holiday 2024 release for Shattered Space to kind of bring the hype back to the game, get those player numbers back up, and to have people jumping back in the game as soon as possible. And we'll see how that improves on Starfield. We'll see what kind of new content it does bring story-wise and all of that. And I wonder, with the release of Shattered Space, if we will be getting some sort of major performance upgrade on something like 60 FPS or performance mode of some sort on the console version of the game. Either way, I played through the entire game on Xbox in 30 FPS and I was fine with it. It played fine. It was a solid 30 FPS, if that means anything to anybody. But I'm hoping that at some point in the future, they do eventually open up the frame rate, even if it isn't as stable as they want it to be, just give people that option for a performance mode. All right, let's talk about the next Call of Duty, because I'm pretty excited about the next Call of Duty. I usually get excited about the Call of Duty games and then I played for a couple months and then drop off, but that's kind of probably what they bank on, is getting that hype right at the beginning of the next year for people who have dropped off the game and then jumping into the newer one. And the next one is a Black Ops game, and I've loved the Black Ops series, and a new Call of Duty Black Ops logo has been spotted. It says here that the new logo can be spotted on the official Call of Duty Koto website, in which you can see a logo as a part of the new hoodie design. So this is the hoodie, and somewhere in there you get to see the Black Ops logo. Now, we have heard that the next game, again, still rumors because it has not been confirmed, will be based on the Gulf War, so Call of Duty Black Ops Gulf War, which to me sounds like a phenomenal setting for a Call of Duty game. And this will be coming off of the last two Modern Warfare games. So pretty excited about that. They're usually right about the leaks about the next upcoming Call of Duties. It's most likely going to be the Black Ops Gulf War, and we'll see when they finally do put out their initial trailer for the game itself. Okay, let's talk about No Rest for the Wicked, because this game is coming from the Ori developers. Ori is one of my favorite games, so I'm really excited about this. It is an action RPG, but they say it's more like a Souls rather than a Diablo. And we have a bunch of new details here because this game is going into early access before it does officially release. And here are the details of the game. The world is handcrafted. It is not procedurally generated. There's randomized loot. You can move around obviously with your keyboard with WASD, or it will also have analog stick movement. It is not point and click. I guess some people thought this game may be a point and click game. It has a day and night cycle, dynamic weather, animation driven combat inspired by ARPGs, action games, and fighting games, which is cool. Gear has 4 different rarities, from highly customizable white items to unique gold items. Weapons can drop with a specific rune, which can then be extracted. Each weapon type has a different moveset. Sacrament is the capital city. You can buy houses and properties in Sacrament. You can collect and harvest resources, which can be used to craft gear or items for your home. Regions you've visited before can have drastically different enemies. Endgame crucibles will be in the game at launch. I mean, that's always important. One of these things with the games that do release, especially if they are semi games as a service or games that will continuously add content, is they release them too early. The end game hits and there's really not much to do. People drop off and then the game kind of just goes away until a major drop of content does come. But even at that point, there's so many games that release between the time that your game released and then another game releases that it's hard to get back all those players that were playing it at launch. So you want to make sure that the end game is very, very full. They say here, this is important for people who are thinking what type of game this is. Combat is similar to Dark Souls, so it's going to be slower, you're going to be dodging, and you're going to have to be very strategic. The armor weight affects movement. Enemies that don't respawn when you die, injured enemies will stay injured after you respawn. And it's coming to Steam Early Access on April 18th. So the console versions will launch with version 1.0, which I guess would be the official release of the game. So you're going to have to wait a little bit longer to get this on console, but if you want to jump in early, you can. And there's actually a roadmap for the early access. So early access starts in April. Update 1 will be multiplayer added, online co-op and PvP with friends. Update 2 will have major content added, new regions, enemies, narratives, and then 1.0 will release after that. So I'm guessing 1.0 is not coming for a little bit, probably not till the end of the year. Or maybe that'll slip into 2025. But here is some more information about No Rest for the Wicked, which is a game from, like I said, the Ori developer, Moon Studios. Looks phenomenal. Ori is one of my favorite games and franchises of all time, one of my favorite platformers. So I'm definitely going to be checking out and see how they transfer from that game to a game like No Rest for the Wicked. Okay, let's talk about Guerrilla, because we know PlayStation had all their layoffs. They canceled a bunch of games as a service games. They shut down a studio. It was a pretty bad time for PlayStation last week. And there is one game that we've heard so much about in terms of rumors, and that is Guerrilla's Horizon Online game. Apparently, this is not one of the canceled games. It says here, commenting on the restructuring, PlayStation Studios head and former Guerrilla managing director Herman Hulse said the company was revealing how it operates and that the unnamed projects had been canceled. And so following the announcement, Jason Schreier reported that Twisted Metal, the live service game previously in development of Fire Sprite, had been axed, which is probably one of the saddest things out of all of this in terms of games being canceled, because I've played Twisted Metal since PS1, awesome series, and I would love to have seen it come back in a big way, but clearly that is not going to happen. Then asked on X if Guerrilla's Horizon Online game had also been canceled as a part of the restructuring, he said that it hadn't. So if you're looking forward to Guerrilla's online game, their, I guess, online Horizon game, that one is still in the works. But I will end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.